Hi everyone, it's Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, DevOps TV, and we're here at DevOps Enterprise Summit UK 2018. And we have a nice panel lined up for this segment. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let me introduce our panel members. To my far right is a pretty well-known speaker on DUZ. He's been here now 3 years at least, yeah?
Yeah.
Jonathan Smart. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Sitting next to John is, and I hope I don't mess this up, I practiced, Morag McCall.
Hi.
And Tom Clark.
Correct, from ITV.
It's hard without my glasses.
Yeah.
You can glance down sometimes. Tom Clark, thank you. And Tom, you are from ITV, as you mentioned.
I'm from ITV, yep.
What's your role at ITV?
So I'm the head of common platforms. Basically, I kind of manage the DevOps function for ITV.
Interesting thing that your title is platforms. We'll talk about that in a moment. But John and Morag, why don't you give our audience a little background? Who do you work for? What do you do?
Okay, well, we both work at Barclays. I work in the portfolio management team. I look after risk and governance. And John?
Jonathan Smart, so I head up ways of working across Barclays, which I've been doing for the last 3.5 years.
Excellent. So guys, our topic for this segment is value stream teams. That may be a term that not all of us agree on the definition or even have an idea. But as we were talking off camera, I thought it would be a good idea to start with a baseline of what do we mean by the value stream, and we hear the term value stream mapping all the time. So let's start base right there. What do we mean by the value stream?
So I think for ITV, we kind of map that into kind of a product-centric kind of approach. So at one end of the value stream, you have your customer. So for ITV, it could be the viewer, it could be kind of internal customers as well, because we've broken things down. And so you've got at one end, you've got the customer, the thing you're actually delivering them, the value actually you are giving, the business value or the program. And you trace that all the way back towards kind of the commodity, kind of input kind of components to it. And we kind of looked at that and say, okay, how do we map that into kind of into a team? And so rather than having the usual kind of verticals and the functional kind of verticals, we've actually tipped that over and made a horizontal kind of thing. So at one end you've got the consumer, we brought all of those kind of functions together in one particular team to deliver one particular thing for the organisation, the end user. So that's our approach.
And I'm going to stick with it.
So.
John, you off camera, you had an interesting way of sort of defining what we mean by value stream team.
Yeah, so traditionally, historically, teams were organised along the lines of projects. So you would have a temporal project, and it would be a case of probably using an Excel spreadsheet to put together the team to deliver that project. And then what would happen at the end of that project is that team would be disbanded, and using this Excel spreadsheet to find a way to reform more teams to do more projects. So in terms of the Tuckman model and the 4 stages of the team, forming, norming, storming, performing, or rather forming, storming, norming, performing, teams don't get to the point of performing before they're disbanded. Or if they do, they get to the point of performing and then they're disbanded. So you keep going through this kind of vicious cycle of teams reforming, and then you have problems with technical debt and a legacy and too many applications because you're very project-centric, so you build it, the team disband, you turn your back on it, and a bit like gardening, the weeds grow, and then you build something else, and you tend a new garden, and then you need to go back and slash and burn, and you need to effectively end up rewriting that system before. So instead, we have pivoted, as Tom was saying, we've pivoted to products, to long-lived products with long-lived teams as the primary construct. And so these long-lived products are aligned to value streams. And a value stream with a customer at the beginning, the middle and the end, a customer all the way along there. And so the teams are long-lived, the products are long-lived, so then things like technical debt start taking care of themselves, and the teams start to form a view of the unarticulated customer's needs.
Understood. Morag,
Yeah.
what does this mean though in terms of, we are product-centric, we are projects that we have been.
Yeah, there's still a need for projects. Having a product-centric value stream view, there's still a need to deliver change. through projects, but we don't call them projects. We do less. We roll them up into the big strategic stuff. We call those initiatives. So the model that we will be talking about in our talk is that your horizontals are your teams, your product teams that are delivering the change, and you have vertical your initiatives, and some of those initiatives might rely on one or more product teams to deliver the outcomes that that initiative is delivering, but some might be one for one. So we focus on fewer initiatives than we used to have projects, and that's the approach that we take.
Now, to me, that's almost antithetical to DevOps, where, in DevOps, it seemed like we were breaking into smaller and smaller tasks and projects and things to do, right? And completing them fast, right? Where now we have this big initiative with lots of product teams, or, potentially many product teams working towards this initiative. Geez, that sounds complicated. More coordination, more process failure. Is that?
Can I get that?
Go, absolutely.
So watch our talk for more information on this, because in our talk we talk about this. And so it isn't as you just described. Firms still want to achieve big outcomes, but achieve big through small is the catchphrase, is the term, achieve big through small. So we do...
Let me repeat that, achieve big through small.
Achieve big through small. So another way of saying that is to scale, descale. So don't scale, don't do big through big, do big through small. So to this point, achieve big outcomes through small steps. So as a large firm with 80,000 people in it and 30,000 in technology, we do have some big outcomes we want to achieve. And the key here is, Morag said, fewer strategic initiatives. So this is limiting work in progress at the portfolio level. However, they break down into quarterly business outcomes, which are articulated as a business outcome, not as an activity or an output. So not development done, testing done, but 10, net promoter score has gone up 10 points. They are broken down into roughly monthly features, which are vertical slices of value, which are delivered, further breaking it down. The features are broken down into stories, which are daily or 3 days, and they're broken down into, if the team wants to, tasks, which are hourly. And you've got continuous deployment on all of that. So you could be doing 100 deploys a day on your business outcome, which is quarterly, on your portfolio epic, which is annual, your annual kind of vision. So then you've got strategy alignment. There's a Japanese term, Hoshin Kanri, which is strategy alignment. So you could be a developer doing a 2-hour task, and you can see the CEO's top 5 priorities that aligns to.
Fantastic. What about at ITV? Would that work?
I was going to say that's kind of a lot more. I think formal is the wrong word, but kind of thoroughly thought out, I think, than we kind of have at the moment. So in our kind of our technology division, we've undergone over the past 5 years a big transformation from waterfall. Historically, we were a waterfall-based shop. Everything was done for a project. You would kind of get the project approval, you'd get the budget approval, you'd bring in often either consultants or contractors to deliver it. They'd spend a third of the time learning the problem space, a third of the time doing it, and then maybe a third of the time again handing it over, assigning it to like an operations team who then carry the can forever. And we'd end up with the problem you said before about all the weeds growing because the operations team really weren't empowered to make it better and actually nurture it. And then as part of this modernisation program, we kind of adopted Agile, which was a real kind of transformation for us, where I kind of came into the organisation to do a lot of cloud work and DevOps. And we do a good job within the technology function of working closely with our kind of partners in our business. So our product owners in our product teams will often be someone from the business. Not always, but often. But we definitely haven't got to that point yet where we actually have that full, perfect alignment, it sounds like you have, where we obviously have strategic goals and everyone is aware of what the kind of the corporate strategy is, and we are doing work that says it's in the kind of the benefit of this particular goal. But in terms of that kind of nice kind of initiative kind of alignment all the way top to bottom, that's really nice.
It's got so many other types of advantage to be. You create a product, long-lived team, you start to resolve some of your tech debt problem. People feel more part of belonging to that product
Yeah.
team rather than being a temporary organisation put together for a project.
Yeah.
And then if you're able to, it's not always straightforward, but if you're able to change or shift the way in which funding is provided, you create that opportunity of having a value stream capacity funding, which helps again with the smaller pieces to be able to continue and remove or reduce your tech debt.
And how does that work with kind of your kind of funding approach? Is it the initiatives that kind of drive the funding, or are your product teams kind of separately funded and they're given work to do? I mean, how does that work at Barclays?
It's evolving. So we're not perfect yet, and it is one of the areas where we know that there's further improvement to make. But John mentioned quarterly rolling wave planning, so that allows us to look at our new demand reprioritisation quarterly. We still have an annual, this is what the spend is. It's typically resource constrained, capacity constrained, because these are the teams, and we prioritise according to the big must-dos. There's obviously been a bank, lots of regulation, lots of mandatory stuff that we have to do, stuff that has to come first. But what we're trying to ensure is that there are some buckets available for these funding, for these value streams. We call them transaction cycles, but some buckets available for them to enable some of the smaller, less strategic stuff just to get on and do it.
And even within the strategic stuff, it's still, to some degree, it's still capacity funded. It's still, it's still a case of here's some funding now, maximise the value on that. If it's mandatory and it's regulatory, it's not negotiable. We have to do this, or we're not compliant to the law. So some of that is just must do. But then, so even within an annual, as a public listed company, there will always be an annual financial cycle. Yeah. Like legally, there has to be. We have to report on an annual basis. The key then is to have agility within the annual cycle. Yeah. So if you view this as layers of an onion, there's annual, there's quarterly, there's monthly, there's weekly, there's daily, there's hourly. And so what, as Morag was saying, what we've been able to do is with shifting to a quarterly focus on business outcomes, we can pivot the money on a quarterly basis. And it isn't only new demand, it is new demand, but also it's around treating the existing outcomes as hypotheses. So we believe that by doing this work in the last 3 months, we'll get this outcome. And now with the feedback loop coming in those nested cadences from hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, we can then say, actually, you know what? So this discretionary work, we're not actually achieving the outcome of increasing the net promoter score by 10 points, so we're going to pivot the money over here instead. Or some new insight, some new kind of disruption in the market, we need to respond quickly. We don't have to wait for that quarter either. We can pivot. So it's about trying to have the financial agility within the kind of the annual cadence.
And it's about empowering and trusting those product teams to do the right thing as well.
So how does that work from kind of a governance perspective? Is it the product owner who's kind of got a 3-month kind of time box to kind of deliver on the kind of hypothesis? Is it the product owner who will say, we've been tracking these metrics, we've done all the work we thought was going to make a move on the numbers, and it hasn't had the effect we wanted. I'm going to pull the plug, or is there kind of a governance function?
There is still governance, but we do have governance boards to be able to provide that transparency and that trail of where the decisions have been made.
And I think as a business technology partnership, so the governance is as the kind of the business technology partnership is a common sense governance of there are the vertical initiatives that Morag articulated. They have business cases attached to them. They have a justification for spending the money. So the governance is business and technology in partnership saying, was this actually, did we get the return on this, or are we achieving the outcomes that we thought we should achieve? In particular, it's super important that we obsess about the customer. So not necessarily revenue or profit, but actually customer obsession and customer happiness and customer satisfaction. That's the governance. And I think, so OKRs, objectives and key results, we're trying to leverage as much of that philosophy as possible. So if anyone is not familiar, who's listening to this or watching this, is not familiar with OKRs, highly recommend Googling it. on the Google Rework website, there's some stuff about OKRs, objectives and key results, trying to embed more of that mindset.
Excellent. It's quite a conversation. You know what? I feel like we'd miss if we didn't mention. So this is being shot the first day of Does. Your presentation is, of course, tomorrow, but it will be available on the IT Revolution YouTube channel. For people who are looking at it, do you know the title of your presentation, guys?
The PMO is dead. Long live the PMO.
Okay, that's a great one. And John, you're speaking as well.
Tom, yeah, so I spoke this morning, so I was speaking around the topic of solving for happiness. And so my theory is everyone in technology is being asked to create a high-performing team. Everyone wants to have a high-performing team, everyone wants to be on a high-performing team. And there's no kind of magic formula just to suddenly magically become high-performing. Everyone's taught to have one, but not necessarily how. And I kind of have a theory that actually happy people are more likely to be high-performing. So rather than actually just trying to kind of whip your team into being high-performing, try and optimize for happiness. You try to solve for happiness. And basically, my talk this morning was about trying to optimize environment, hire the right people, lead them the right way, and you almost get happiness and high performance as a side effect.
So this is a topic we've spoken about on a few of our panels today. And you know, some of the consensus and some of the discussion has been, you know, when you're in a startup and it's all rah, 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 that's all fine and dandy. But when you get to an organization, you know, with 80,000 people and 30,000 of them in IT, and, you know, it's not a greenfield situation either. And there are cultural strata that get built in, right? And developers sort of become the alpha predators on the chain, if you will. And even within the developer ranks themselves, it's hard keeping people motivated, right? Keeping them motivated, keeping them feeling like they're empowered, keeping them happy, to your point.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people, they become sort of institutionalized, right? It's a paycheck. They do their job. And it's kind of like the movie Office Space, right? And, you know, that is, I think the bigger the organization gets, the harder it is to avoid.
And I think that's where the topic of value stream teams helps, because previously, in a waterfall traditional world, you're a cog in a machine. And when you're organised by a group of business analysts and a group of developers and a group of testers, and you've got a head of BA and a head of dev and a head of test, effectively all you're doing is you're putting the pedal on the bicycle all day long. Okay. So in terms of engagement and happiness, it's like you don't really know why you're putting the pedal on the bicycle, because you've just been handed over an order in the form of a document from a business analyst to say, do this, do this, do this. Mm-hmm. And you don't speak to the customer. You don't know why they want the bicycle. And it may be that actually they don't want a bicycle. It might be that they want a skateboard or a motorbike or a car or a train ticket instead of a bicycle. So that's where I see low levels of engagement. And irrespective of the size of the organisation, and irrespective, I don't think we shouldn't delineate between greenfield and brownfield, because if we've got long-lived products, they're long-lived. We shouldn't have greenfield much anymore, because it all becomes green brownfield. Because you have long-lived products going with emergent architecture, constantly being, just like we've seen with Amazon and eBay and Twitter, you know, in terms of they've had like 4 or 5 significant architectural refactorings from being monolithic at the beginning to microservices to Kubernetes. So we should view all of our long-lived products in that same way. So you're constantly upgrading your biplane to a prop plane, to a jet plane, as you go. Exactly, to SpaceX. And because you're aligned to the customer and the value stream, you get to understand the value proposition, and then the conversation isn't about putting a pedal on a bicycle. It's, where do you want to go? Why do you want to get there? How do you want to get there? Let me help you.
Point, right?
Let me help you with that, because actually, what I was about to do, I don't think that will help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. But if we do this, it's like, oh wow, yeah, great idea.
And you know, you just hit on something that I think goes to the core of a lot of mistakes that are made, which is speed for speed's sake alone. Right? Going fast in and of it by itself is not the goal. If you know, again, when we talk about shifting left, right? It's grand to shift left, right? We should shift left. I'm not saying that, but we need to be focusing all the way left, back on the business planning side of the house, before pen is laid to paper to write code, as if pen is put on paper anymore. But before code gets, you know, written or anything or committed, and I'm appalled when I speak to organizations, especially when you do sort of what went wrong, right? 9 times out of 10, it went wrong from the get-go, right? They didn't do their homework on you know, business planning. They had a good outcome in their mind, right? They had a good goal, not an outcome. They had the right goal, perhaps, right? They wanted to make something easier for a customer. But getting from point A to point B was just not mapped out. And they kind of, you know, they wing it and
I would say that that's complex work and it's unknowable and you can't map it out. So the way
you not do it.
So the way you do it is I think you have a clear desired outcome, which is I want to go from London to Edinburgh, and then I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, whether I'm going to get the train or then there's a train cancellation, so then I need to get a taxi and then I need to walk a bit, so that it's a squiggly path to get to your outcome, but you can't map it out, so hence agile DevOps, you know, fast feedback, cheap experiments.
I think that point actually does kind of work at multiple levels as well. So one of the bits in my talk earlier was talking about kind of Dan Pink's theory of motivation. He talks about autonomy, mastery and purpose. And the way I kind of describe the autonomy bit is that, but at the more micro level, at the individual level, it's like, you know, if you've hired smart people, let them do smart person stuff. Don't get them to check in with you. Don't get them to run everything past you. And so it means that, you know, going back to the kind of the journey analogy, don't give them a set of directions. You know, give them you know, a destination. Give them the rules of the road, the highway code. Say, you know, these are our principles, so don't break these. Otherwise, you'll go to prison or something. But don't break these. And then give them a map and a compass. And then say, get over that.
Have at it.
Because if you give them a set of directions, you know, chances are they might run into a traffic jam. I'm going to really stretch the analogy now. They might run into a traffic jam, which you couldn't have predicted, and they get stuck. Or they may just find a better route than you could have planned. And that's kind of the way I define autonomy, is giving the people that freedom. And I think that same kind of principle kind of boils, you know, all the way up through the levels as well. Just saying, you know, we need to be fast, we need to be agile, but we need to actually always be looking at the kind of the destination and making sure we're still heading there. I think if you just put your head down and just charge, and suddenly the actual destination may have moved slightly. So I think that's kind of the important thing. So.
I agree. All right, guys, I think we're probably, we've spent our time, but I think we've spent it well.
Went quickly.
Yep. So again, you can check out Morag and John's presentation. Yes, Morag, John, and I keep forgetting your last name. Tom.
It's Tom and John, that's the problem. So.
Yeah, too simple. I'm used to like complex names, you know.
You can call me Thomas if you want my money.
Okay, Thomas. But anyway, you can check out their presentations at the IT Rev YouTube channel for DevOps Enterprise UK 18 presentations. They'll be up there. And guys, thank you so much for coming on DevOps TV today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good luck tomorrow with your presentation and yours later, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, this is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com, DevOps TV, here at DevOps Enterprise Summit UK 2018. Have a great day.